So, hey, everybody, welcome to the Make It Matter podcast. Today, I'm sitting down with Sean Bruce. He's over in Scotland. He's a partner with CAD People, and they do amazing work. They create these incredibly beautiful virtual worlds that help their clients tell their story in a more effective way, both to an internal audience and to an external audience. So, we're going to learn all about what Sean and CAD People do today. So, thanks for coming on, Sean. It's been great working with you for the past couple of years. CAD People does a lot of the dev for our Storyworld platform, and we've done some great work together for clients. And yeah, you guys are an amazing company. So, can you just give me a brief intro to CAD People?
Yeah, sure. Well, firstly, thanks very much for having me on your podcast. CAD People, what can I say? We're a visual communication agency at heart. We have been in business for around 32 years now, I think it is, since our founder opened the doors. And we work across many different industries. We cover health tech, we cover the energy industry, we cover a lot of engineering organizations as well, and work mainly within the digital marketing space. That's not to say things like SEO and pay-per-click and all these kind of things, but creating tools for sales and marketing organizations and their groups, as well as the digital learning space as well. So we do a lot of training, onboarding, that kind of thing as well. But our strapline is that we make the complex simple. We take complex messages that organizations have and turn that into clear visual storytelling. And we use the digital elements, whatever that may be. The company's pretty digitally agnostic, but it's about the right tech for the right situation.
So, Sean, we learned about you from a client a couple years ago, and they showed us this incredibly beautiful virtual world. It was for a company actually called Intellian. They make satellite antennas. We were just blown away with that experience. You know, I know that they created that to have like a virtual trade show, right? Especially during COVID, where people couldn't see their product in person. They almost made it real virtually. I always describe it as like VR without a headset, which is great, right? So you get that immersive visual experience. It's very sticky. It's very engaging. And how did you come up with that idea?
Wow, that's a big question. Essentially, we started fairly small in the corner, like we do with many of our clients. That platform was a lot of conversations in the making. The easiest way to say to start is that we worked with their CAD models. That's kind of the CAD and CAD people, and we took their files from their engineering drawings, and we did some beautiful animations and images for them of their products before they'd even created them at first. And that lent itself to talking about how we actually communicate their product a bit better. So we had created quite a few of these platforms prior to COVID, and we worked very heavily in exhibition and trade shows, and that all kind of shut down. So after that, we moved on during COVID into doing a lot of virtual exhibitions, and then we really just combined some of these skills into a framework for what is our core kind of TouchKit platform. So we implemented that for Intellian using all their images that they had, all the 3D designs and animations that we'd create for them, and put it together in a really nice world. So a lot of the founding projects that we did 20 plus years ago were all very much around the architectural principles. So flow, scale, and realism. And it was very much about moving people through the space and creating a realistic virtual world for them to explore the products, to engage with the training and their webinars, to engage with their customers and their distributors, and bringing that all together in one really nice, visually engaging space.
So the fact that you've made it so visually engaging, how does that make a difference? You know, what's the delta, or what's the advantage in doing that?
Well, I think with a lot of the scale of the organizations that we work with, there's a demand for true to life. I have clients like Intellian, and a quote that I recently got when I was asking about this podcast from Siemens Mobility. They turned around and said, we spend hundreds, if not thousands of hours on our products, and we don't want cartoons and infographics to explain how our product works. We want it true to life, and that's where it becomes true to life for the products that we work with for them, but also the environments that we build behind that in order for it to have a home.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I never thought about it that way, actually. Right. Um, what about a company that doesn't have is more of a software company or a professional services type company where they don't actually have a physical product, right? Can they still do the same kind of thing? I think they actually even need it more because true to life. Like I get that. Like we put so much time into this product, let's not like make a cartoon version of it for external marketing. But like a lot of our clients, like I can't see what you're talking about. I wish I could see what this message looks like, right? I think visualization could even be more powerful there. But have you worked with that type of company as well?
Yeah, it's like you said, it's a lot harder for those companies, right? Because they don't have a product to necessarily sell, so they need some form of visualization in order to make it work for them. Um, we work with quite a lot of professional services companies, consultant companies as well, where they do have a product to sell. Their service is key to their organization, and it's very easy for us to actually take the companies that they're selling to and design the world around the application rather than the service.
So let's take a look at what you call a virtual campus. I know you've done this for many, many, many types of companies. Can we take a look at the work that you've done for Siemens? Can you walk me through this, Sean? And really start with the brief. They came to you with what? What need? What problem are you solving by developing this incredible world here? And then walk me through it. How did you design it? Why did you design it the way you did? How is it being used? I'm sure it's being used in a lot of cool ways. I would just really love to kind of understand the full idea here.
Okay, so this is our platform called First to Last Mile for Siemens Mobility, mainly the rail division of Siemens.
Yeah.
It solved a lot of problems for Siemens. The brief that they came to us with initially was, we want a new experience for our customers. And that was because they were redeveloping their customer experience suite in their headquarters in England. And they really wanted to bring all the different divisions of Siemens together.
Okay.
Then transpired that thereafter they had many, many more requirements that they wanted to put into this. They wanted their sales teams to integrate. They wanted a really good way of different areas of the business to communicate their product, their products, because they really didn't have an understanding between the different sales divisions about what it was that they actually did between their rolling stock and their trackside areas and the digitization of the railways as well.
Mm-hmm.
The message behind First to Last Mile was very much about the journey that a person takes and all the touch points that Siemens have within the journey. So you can see here on their entry to the platform that you've got some hotspots here, such as at home, on the train, the trackside, the depot, their control center, and it's very much about taking them on that journey. So if we go into the first level of this platform, this actually shows the character that is behind the journey, and this kind of shows them needing to get on a DRT, which is demand responsive transport. Essentially,
Right.
that means that they are going to be taking a taxi or a minibus or something to the local train station, to their nearest point of access to public transport, because
Okay.
perhaps they live in a rural area. So that was where we started on this journey. And some of the different areas of it is to actually discuss what is demand responsive transport for areas of the business that don't understand it. So they have a nice image and they have the text behind it. And that's very simply how we get to the information, just through three simple, very quick clicks of
Uh-huh.
that particular area. So perhaps a salesperson is speaking to a key client about demand responsive transport. This is the area that they would go in. They would
Okay.
start talking about the initial city, and then they would move into that demand responsive transport area. And that's the way that they touch every area of the business within those 3 simple clicks.
So going back to kind of the brief here, was the
Yep.
initial idea that Siemens does so much that even internally, even the people that work at Siemens, right, product developers, sales executives, it's hard for them to see the full spectrum, the full picture of what Siemens does.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of value internally as far as educating the company on what it does, right? Is it also an idea that, like, to sell this concept, the last mile concept? It's not like they're selling each one of these solutions. They're trying to sell a big idea. Is that kind of part of it too? That, you gotta like show the whole idea come to life. Otherwise, you don't even understand the individual parts of it.
I think it's about bringing it into bite-sized pieces. So yes,
Okay.
you're totally correct. It's about understanding the big picture and having the big picture on view for everybody. So that the if you were speaking to somebody just onboarding onto the business, whether you were speaking to somebody at an exhibition show, whether you're pitching to your latest client within Siemens, there's different ways to use it. But essentially, we're showing the big picture, right? We're then diving into the detail that's necessary for
Okay.
that conversation, having everything in one here. Yeah.
Got it. Could you zoom back into what's the coolest scene here? So, okay, you have people walking here. You got cars moving on a bridge above, right? What does that added motion do, right? Does it keep the viewer more engaged? Does it make, you said it makes it just more true to life, and because they're moving, it's truer than if they were not moving. So, like, when people look at this, when I've shown this to people, they just stop and stare like, oh my God, this is beautiful. And usually when people look at marketing content, they don't stop and stare and say, this is beautiful. They're like, dude, get that away from me. Do I have to read this? So, what's sort of the secret ingredient here?
So I think I mentioned it earlier. Is that it's that that realism that Siemens wanted. They spend hours and hours on their project, if not thousands of hours on their project, and they really want it to shine. They want people to be more engaged with the product. You've seen it a million times with the PowerPoint presentation, with lots and lots of text in the PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And everybody switches off, right? So it's very much about, this is a scene that works for them because it actually shows the track, the train, the other elements that I'm not afraid with, that actually as part of the central points of their business. But on this particular scene, they've got their passenger management system, and that's a core division on the technology side. There's a little button here that actually shows the digitization of exactly where the all their digital elements for Siemens actually flow into the business. So
yeah, that's really cool.
Just yeah.
So I had a client once, and we like you, we believe strongly in visualization, right? And we put a lot of time and effort into creating scenes like this, right? Working with you to make them look just like you're seeing here, right? That's your specialty. But I had a client once that called this, used the term scene, they called it a scene bite. They're like, oh, most companies create sound bites, just messaging and words, but you create scenes, you create scene bites. So do you feel like this is also more like watching a movie, right? So it feels more like the kind of content that we look at on a day-to-day basis. Like, ooh, this is a scene in a movie. Definitely does not look like a page in a 4-page brochure. I can tell you that for sure. But what are your thoughts on maybe just having this match the media experience the average person has?
I think the average person, whether you're starting off in a business in day one, and you're wanting to learn about Siemens specifically, or whether or not they're wanting to know about a particular system and somebody's wanting to engage about that, we all communicate visually, right? So this immediately creates a level of trust because, oh, right, okay, this is exactly what we're talking about today. I understand what you're talking about, and let's talk more. So it immediately creates engagement, and that also creates retention of exactly the topic and the subject. So even if 80% of the message is not getting through, they're still looking at this and they're still really engaged. So, and they're looking at the areas that are specific to them, and it creates talking points as well.
So talk to me about all the different ways that that platform, this visual campus that you just showed for Siemens, I imagine there's, you said onboarding, you talked about sales, you talked about digital marketing, trade shows. I believe that this concept has so many different legs, right? And it's really an investment that is going to benefit a lot of different audiences. But maybe walk me through all the different people that use this and all the different ways that they use it.
Okay, how long have you got? No, seriously, it's very much about what the who we're engaging with within the organization, right?
Yep.
So we could be engaging with sales, we could be engaging with their strategic marketing team, we could be engaging with their exhibition team, it could be their training, learning development, HSE, and the list goes on. But everybody's got a specific focus that they want their platform to do in the first case. So interestingly, today I just did a client communication to the board level of a company about what this platform was for, and it was for a consulting company, and it was for sales and marketing and exhibitions, and that was it was to engage with the sales team. And immediately after we'd presented the platform, they were like, first of all, wow, this is great. We've never had anything like this. And I was like,
Yeah,
great,
yeah,
I've done my
yeah.
job. But the first person to come into the conversation, first person to come into the conversation was the recruitment manager. And they said, wow, if I could only just, tweak this just a little bit for getting people to understand what our business is, getting them to sign up and go through the recruitment process properly, and then they would be much more prepared for their interviews. We would get much more out of them, have much more meaningful conversations. But then when we're finished, we could onboard them properly because all the information for the business is there. And I was like, sure, absolutely, of course. Where we are in phase one of this project is a sales and marketing platform, but we can create more hotspots. We can create a specific area based on the user journey of those people that are needing to be recruited or onboarded. All the training that a company could do. So that could be service engineering training. That could be people just that have office jobs within the organization, but they've got to go through that onboarding, the training, the site induction, all these things that are usually quite boring PDFs that you got given in advance of turning up, and you don't read through the PDF and you don't actually have a clue what happens. You turn up on day one and you wing it. So this is to give you something to actually get excited about, get engaged with, but also a tool to constantly go back to so that they can go, okay, right, I remember what John said on day one, but I've got no recollection because there was so much information to take back. It's all there for them. So
Correct.
that's kind of the one example of what happened today.
What about Sean? Let's talk about a sales application. How would a
Okay.
sales executive use this?
Well, first and foremost, you've usually got the entry to the platform. So that entry will show overall a beautiful picture of what
Mm-hmm.
exactly the company is involved in and what they're doing as a business. But usually it will either be product driven or it will be showing other organizations how they're involved in the value chain and where they fit into the value chain. And that's what these hotspots do, is they allow them to discuss the full big picture, and then very quickly, without having to go to slide 37 of the PowerPoint, get direct access to the topic that the person that they're talking to wants to talk about.
Excellent. Does it replace a PowerPoint to some degree?
Um, to every degree, really. If the
That's the only
I
way
mean,
to go
I
about
would
it, right? Just get rid of it. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
get rid of it completely, because you can put as much information into this as possible. The main thing that I would caveat to all of that is that you do need to have the content behind it. We can create the visual pictures, we can explain the journey, but there's a lot of content that these organizations have that, it's probably sitting on your desktop, that's really disorganized. It's probably in a folder on an internal drive that you can't access through a VPN. All these problems that you're usually trying to scrape together that PDF, sorry, that PowerPoint before you start the pitch. Well, if the content's there already and it's been curated properly in the back end of these platforms, then there's no reason to say, right, okay, well, actually, John, I need to see specific evidence of what it is that you're talking about. Well, the data sheet can be there. The technical information that you need behind the scenes, or maybe it's just a beautiful video that they've done in the year past that explains exactly visually what they're doing. Play the video, but play it within the platform.
Yeah.
Explain the start of the journey, and then get to the information later on, and it's there already.
Yeah, great. I want to talk about two other use cases. So we've worked with your team on a couple of these implementations. So one of our clients, they make satellite networking gear. Their primary application was a trade show demo. And they really like
Yeah.
the fact that this can work in an offline mode, because at trade shows, you really can't depend on internet coverage, right? So we've created a demo world that we can update at every trade show. We can add scenes, change scenes, add content, and then they can go into an offline mode. And now the question that follows on that is, can I also put this on my website, right? So I know Intellian is on the Intellian website, Intellian World. Talk to me about this as a trade show application, also as a website application.
Okay, so this can be the number one priority for many organizations, that they need a very visual, tactile tool for exhibition and trade shows. I actually see these platforms as this is almost a really cool extra, but there is a definite need. So all that information that you've curated, the content, the data sheets, all the rest of it, that's in the world, that's already been created for all these communication purposes. All we do is a click of a button, really, download that all into one nice little neat package that's offline.
Yep.
It does create a kind of a hard state for the platform, i.e., you're not going to be able to update it. But at that exact moment in time, when you're doing that exact trade show or exhibition, you've got a platform that works straight away that has all that information in one package. So
Yep.
they don't need to go and get the brochure out. The brochure is there, and they can also forward this back as a web application to potential people that are interested, in order for them to peruse at their own leisure as well. But yeah, I mean, trade show Wi-Fi, all the rest of it, it's a nightmare. We've all done it, or it's in some
Yeah.
cases it's exceptionally expensive as well. So to be able to have your main tool available there, it's also very interactive. People like to go up and do things at trade shows. You want to touch, you want to interact. Some people are quite shy, especially if you're an engineer, if you're not in sales, all these kind of things. So to be able to go through it yourself and find it very intuitive to go through it yourself, and to just go up to screen, touch it, find out the information that you're looking for, and then understand, actually, this company does do what I'm interested in. Right, let's engage, let's have a conversation.
Yeah. So it's marketing content for shy people. That's one way you could
Yeah.
you could position.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great way to say
So
that.
website, talk to me about how it is also used as a website tool.
So as a website tool, so the reason I use the word platform is because I try to take a very clear cut line about what is a website and what these type of platforms do. So a website is very good at explaining the exact company message, the about us, maybe the specific products. It's great for analytics. It loads really fast. It's great for using with all the digital marketing metrics of pay per click and SEM and SEO, all these things nowadays. That's not what these platforms do. They can be ran in conjunction with a website, but they're really much more for the topics we've discussed: the sales, the marketing, the training, the onboarding, and it takes a little bit of time to load as well. So it's good to have that package available, but it allows you to do so much more internationally as well. Because it's a web application, it allows anybody to go in and see that information.
Do you produce platforms that look different than what we just looked at, right? Do you have ones that aren't as visual, don't have motion? Are there other ways that you develop this?
Yes, so we talked very much. You and I talked quite a lot about the architectural principles of CAD people and where we've come from doing the image base. So that's your realism or hyper realism version. But there's many other ways of doing things. It's all about your art direction. So if you want, we've done a theatre platform, which was very much not architecturally done at all. We wanted to use the CAD model of their theatre in order to show people around the theatre. They were like, no, this is about people, this is about interactions. So we did a lot of green screening. We did a lot of work with making sure that they told their story. And we did more of an abstract platform with crazy crocodiles coming out and snapping
Really?
away at them because of
You
all
got
the
to show me
theatre
that
shows
one.
they'd done. Oh yeah, definitely. I'll show you that one. No problem at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had crocodiles coming and snapping out, strange disco balls. They had a bar, and the bar itself was actually a replica of the theatre bar. And then a very heavily spoken Scots person was explaining how he met his wife in the bar. So it was all about getting engaged in a different way. And
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
one of the main pages of the platform about how to engage with the theatre. So it's not necessarily just about architecture, it's about how to visually engage with the audience.
Yeah. That's excellent. So one of the issues that we deal with a lot at Everhouse, right? All our clients are B2B, and it's very difficult to learn what they do. So B2B companies need to be really good at explaining what they do. Otherwise, they won't have buyers, right? You're not going to buy something that you don't understand. So it looks like your companies are, I'd say, taking it up a notch, right? We got to explain what we do. Let's build this virtual platform. We have to explain our theater. Let's make a cool abstract theater with a bar, right? Those are things that you don't normally see B2B companies doing, right? It's like, oh, let's just produce a website. Let's produce some collateral. Let's do a thought leadership campaign. Let's do some social. So why is there a need to, you know, go above, in how you explain? What's driving that other than just like it's more interesting?
I think retention is the major thing. We've got so many different communication channels, social media. Everybody's bombarded 24/7. We've got emails coming in from all different variety of every topic, right? So we want them to focus on our product. If you've got a beautiful product, maybe you've got something that's physical. It's really easy for a company like us to model that and to show it off. But what if their product's really not the most exciting? Well, I'm not going to name names, but we have a company that we do a lot of work with, and their product does this, and it does this, and it does this, and it does this, and essentially it's about the applications that their product goes into. So they need that visual engagement with their clients and the people that are using the end product to actually explain, right, actually this we've got the best product that goes into these products. But if we talk about the applications that they're using and visually represent the application, or perhaps it's for a consultant, the application that their consultancy is going into, then if we explain the application and they immediately have that engagement because they're seeing something, they know that what they're seeing is what they want to talk about. They're like, these guys know it, they understand my product, they understand what I'm trying to do. They're immediately switched on, and they're filtering out all that other background noise, and you've got them hooked. And I think that's why these companies are really trying to up their game, is we need that retention from all the other background noise.
So if you're looking at everything we're talking about, right, and creating this really true to life world, and then looking at it as a demo, as a new kind of PowerPoint, as a onboarding platform. I hear it in how you describe this as almost like a new priority for a business, right? They need to have whether you call it a learning management system, a learning platform, a digital world platform, there needs to be some representation of what they do for all the people, internal, external, around the business. And I almost think of like the marketer as like the chief educator rather than marketer as just purely demand generation, right? Because usually the CMO, yeah, driving sales, but CMO also explaining what the heck we do, right? So we work with a lot of CMOs, and that means that we're working with HR. right? Hey, these people need to understand the company that they're working for. Sales, these people need to understand the solution that they're pitching, right? Partners need to understand what you're doing. So you're always explaining. And a world like this, you can pool almost all of your explanation into one platform, right? And
Yeah.
are you seeing it that way as well?
Yeah, I mean that's very much where the future is for us. Is you've kind of hit the nail on the head there. We've got marketing departments, we've got sales departments, we've got health HSC departments, we've got learning departments now, and they're all on their own individual journeys, especially within large organizations. They've all got their own budgets, and they're doing their onboarding program, and they're training their sales people, and occasionally they all get together, maybe once a year, once a quarter at best, because they're all busy people trying to do their jobs. But it's a bit disjointed. What we do is we kind of drill into the organizations, and it's very hard to do. It's very hard to get everybody in a room to buy into that one concept, which is why usually we'll start in sales and marketing, or we'll start in HSE. But once you can create a platform where you can say, we can show you sales, but we can also combine 17 different learning management systems and put it all through a single sign-on that goes into this platform for all your internal colleagues, and you can onboard everybody through this. So a lot of the resources get combined, and it allows people to communicate a lot better. And that's the key is that cross divisional communication where they're actually learning from each other, and all we're doing is providing the space, the home. When I start with the very basics of these platforms and what we're trying to achieve, I say, right, okay, you've got an organization, that's your house. And then I say you've got many rooms in that house, that's your divisions. And inside your divisions, you're decorating your house and your rooms, and you're doing that. But what you as an organization are doing is you've got a house and you're building all your rooms as annexes elsewhere. All we're trying to do is get everything under one roof, and make sure that the material is engaging.
I think also there's anytime you have a message, it proliferates. So HR tells the story slightly differently. Sales executives each tell the story slightly differently. And I always found like the moment you solidify a message and it gets into market, it just starts to drift. I don't know if you ever see like when your handwriting just sort of like drifts and everything just goes out. So if you're saying if you put everything under one roof, there's some type of messaging governance. I've never used that term, but it kind of makes sense right now, right? Messaging consistency that's very important, because I doubt it's very easy to explain the Siemens, last mile narrative, right? I
Yeah.
I bet you could leave part of it out. I bet you could get part of it wrong. I bet you could actually deposition the company without really intending to, right?
It's really easy to go off topic with the company themselves. You might be engaging with one specific area of the management team, and they have a clear message of how the company, what the company mission is, what their vision, what their goals are. They're written in stone. But then when you ask the individual to describe what their business does, depending on where they live within the ecosystem of the business, it's a completely different message. And that happens all the time. This gives them a place where they can always come back to and say, actually, this is our clear message. But also, once we've done a phase one of a project, we always go back and revisit it and evaluate it. And it's amazing. Even today, when I was talking about the consultancy company we were discussing, they immediately turned around and said, but we need to tweak this and we need to tweak that. And that's not quite right in our messaging. And I'm like, okay, great. We've got somewhere. The story now needs to evolve. And we need to make sure that everybody's included, but at least you've got a starting point. At least there's building blocks and stepping stones to move forward with the organization's message.
What are some of the metrics that you've heard? This has increased our sales by X%, or any other type of positive feedback that you got about the effectiveness of this strategy?
I think the main feedback is not actually from sales; it's through the learning teams, and the information that we've put into these platforms and the digital learning that we've created for companies. by combining those two things, what we've done is I've said it and repeated it several times through this call. We've created a trust there. We've created a lot more engagement, and we've created a lot more retention. And one of our key customers turned around and said, we actually have metrics now that show that we've increased our uptake and training by 26% across the business. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And they said, furthermore, by the way, half the time they're not taking the training that they were just meant to do. They're actually interested in other areas of the business, and because they have access to that training, they're taking the training because that's a key area of interest. So we've done what we set out to do. The proof's in the pudding. We've created a world where it's that engaging that the average person who goes onto the platform wants to learn more.
Yeah. We actually at the satellite show, there's a big trade show every year in DC for the satellite communications community. And we had the Story World. That's what we call this platform. You call it the virtual campus. We call it Story World. That you helped design for us. We demoed it for a couple of days, and it's funny that people coming by like, well, I could use this for a demo platform. And then someone from the same company came by a couple hours later, goes, I need this as a new employee, right? And then there was a couple of people, we did the pitch and we explained what it was, and they stood there and we're like, any more questions? They're like, oh no, I just can't look away. This is just really beautiful. Do you mind if I just linger? Like, I've never heard, can I linger? You're in front of your piece of, your sales collateral, right? So there was this almost irresistible draw. We see people lean in, right? And that's kind of a cool story. Like, you're leaning into training that's not even part of your job, which is great. You're exploring more about the company, right? You're getting that bigger picture, which is what I think is the cool thing about this, right? You see the whole thing, and then you see the individual parts, right? It's really, really hard to understand something that's complicated just in piecemeal. You need to see the big picture, but you also need to see it in piecemeal because you can't take it in all at once. So this, I think, operates beautifully on both those fronts at the same time. I think it's genius.
And it creates that curiosity, right? It's giving that individual, it's like, what is that? And that's all you needed in the first place for them to I need to know what this is. And you've got them. That was the whole point of creating it in the first place. For whatever the reason was, whether it was to engage with them in sales or to get them to do their training or to make sure that they were competent in their job and they were onboarded properly.
Yeah.
What is this? I need to know. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to filter the noise and get them to engage.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Well, thanks for jumping on the podcast today. It was a really good conversation.
Thanks very much. I really enjoyed it.